Hello, welcome to the Wolfman Workshop. Thank you for visiting today. Today I have this Mercury 9.9 horsepower outboard. It's a 4-stroke engine. I got it this year. It's been the first boat I've owned. It's a little John boat. I have the 9.9 horsepower because in my location there's multiple smaller ponds and lakes that you can access, but they have a 10 horsepower limit. So that's why we went with this size. But so far it's been very fun. The only issue is later in the season here I was having some jumpiness, changing my gear from forward to reverse, or neutral to forward, and even neutral to reverse. So I'm going to come here and show you this diagram I printed out. I'm not sure if it's for my exact model, but what I'm looking at is we have this drive shaft that meshes to these gears that are going to be in a gearbox spinning the propeller. If I had to guess, there's some sort of some sort of back drag or lash in those gears. I'm not 100% certain. I've never really worked on these. So I'm going to take this apart and hopefully we can diagnose some of these issues. This is just going to serve as a rough guidance for me, just to have a general idea of what I'm looking for. Like I said, I've never worked on these, so it'll be a bit of a learning experience. And we'll get started looking at this. Okay. I'm going to take these. It's a different size Phillips. But those are pretty big Phillips head screws. I don't think they're Phillips too. Okay. I'm going to start by taking these little fins off. They're called dolphin fins. I think they help kind of keep your bow down, I don't know, keep you in plane a little better. But they're kind of in the way, I think. I mean, I think we could work around them, but they look easy enough to remove. And I think they'll help give you a better picture on your end. But yeah, I got this John boat. Let's see, middle of the season. My buddy Tanner, he has a John boat. His has a Johnson's 70s era 2-stroke outboard on it, 15 horsepower. But he put a 9.9 horsepower shawl on it. Oh, those actually have nuts on the other end. I thought they were tapped into this metal bracket here. Silly, silly. I was like, that one's really not coming out there. Okay, that's looking like a 7/16 wrench. I always use the right hand rule to know which way my nuts are going, or bolts. get some pliers to pull that out. It's a little captured in the rubber here, plastic. Okay. And that just pulls right off. So you're looking to install these product dolphin fin. I'm not exactly sure the benefit of them. Like I said, I think it's to help keep you in plane. But I see them for sale at like Cabela's and stuff. So it looks like if you wanted to install them, you just have to drill a little bit. So those nuts are a little recessed, so I can't fit the wrench on them. But if anyone's had this type of issue, please let me know what you think the causes are. I mean, I have a guess. I was kind of abusing my John boat a little bit. I didn't think it was going to cause any issues, but I took the Boy Scouts on a canoe trip. And they were being a little lazy, and they wanted to go to a waterfall that was about 2 miles from the campsite we boated into. And I just towed them I towed 3 or 4 canoes with the John boat. And it worked fine. There's not a lot of draft on the canoes, so we were able to go as fast as we felt we comfortably could. And I had even a little more potential for speed, but we didn't want to push it. With the youth on there. I want to make sure we kept it, reasonably safe. And it wasn't fast going. It was still relatively slow. But, for 12 people, they certainly preferred it. So I'd say after that trip is kind of when these hard shifting issues arose. So I'm not sure if I was just putting too much torque on the drive system, or what would have caused these issues. Like I said, I don't think removing this is completely necessary, but it doesn't bother me. And I got other stuff to do with this, sir. Like, I'll make them subsequent videos where I change the gear oil for this lower unit. Because I stock that. I think it's going to be whatever I have here. 80W90, which is pretty standard stuff you put in like your vehicle differential if you have a truck. Okay. I'm thinking what I'll do next is I'm not sure if I should take this propeller off first, because I think this this shaft comes down through this, and it probably meshes up here. So I don't know if it's going to be simple enough where I could just take these off and drop it, or if there's going to be something capturing that. I guess we can give just taking these off a go and see what happens. If it is captured, then I'll have to take this propeller off and open this hatch. But if that's not necessary, I don't see any benefit to it. I think that's going to be a metric size. Okay, yeah, that one's 10 millimeters. I think, if I had to guess, this unit's probably going to be mostly in metric. It's just those nuts on the dolphin pin, or probably aftermarket. I think that was an aftermarket install to this whole outboard unit. I tell you, this 4-stroke outboard is a lot heavier than my buddy's it's a lot heavier than my buddy's 2-stroke, and it was a hassle getting this thing off of the John boat hull and into the shop. I ended up just using a wheel dolly for moving furniture, and then I just had to heave or hoe to get it up all the way. Okay, so these bolts are like right next to this housing, so I don't have enough room to use the ratcheting end, so I'm doing this half a turn at a time. They're still pretty tight. I'm going to see how long these bolts are, and if they're not too long, I'll just undo them a little bit, just so I can try to lower this without fear of messing anything up. In case something is captured down here, I don't want to have to be kind of trying to juggle this up and, you know, put a screw back in. And what I have going on here is I just put some pieces of wood. I think those are 2 pieces of 3/4 inch plywood. It's nice stuff. I was using that for building furniture. So it's nice finished cabinetry grade plywood. But I have 2 of those in my vise real tight, and then I just mounted the outboard on there as if it were a boat transom. And it seems to be working pretty good. It's been up here for a few days now, because I just haven't had time to get to it. And I just wanted to have it prepped, ready to go for the video. And I figured it'd be a lot nicer to work on it in the shop than in the backyard, still on the hull. And it's been getting pretty cold out. Weather's been real variable, but at some points it's real cold, so it's nice being able to come in here with the shop heated. Okay. Well, that seems like it's dropping pretty okay. Let's see if I have enough room to... Yeah, I still don't have enough to fit the stuff on there. Maybe I could see if I have a thin walled socket or something that'll fit on there. Or maybe try a regular wall. See what we can accomplish. Okay. Let's see. I think maybe if I get a 1/4 inch drive socket, I'll have better success. Okay. And I got a little universal joint on there. But this video, I'm just going to release it full length probably. And if you don't like that format, if you'd like me to speed through stuff and offer a little less commentary, please put that in the comments. I know, me personally, I like to have just long format content. Yeah, I might not necessarily be intently watching it, but I like to have it going on in the background as if it were a podcast or something similar. Yeah, it's while I'm working, I like to just have some background noise, and you know, that's a little like ASMR for you. Yeah, it's better than some of the other weird stuff on YouTube. But yeah, this is working a lot better. I think it would have been a little difficult to break these loose with the ratchet, but use my knee to support underneath of it, because it'll fall. Well, now that I have enough space here, I wonder if I can get the wrench to work. Because it's kind of a tapered housing, so I'm wondering if I have enough room now to fit that on there. No. Okay. No. It's just this angle's not working too good for the wrench either. It's pretty sharp. But today is Friday. I'm looking forward to Friday the 19th or 20th. I'm really looking forward to tomorrow, 21st. I'm taking the dogs out quail hunting to Indian Creek. It's public land here in South Carolina, managed by the Forest Service, National Forest Service. And they have about, I think, 3,000 acres. Really nice land for quail, like natural habitat. Okay. One thing I'm noticing on these bolts as I'm taking them out, looks like they had some sort of thread locker on them. It looks red, so thread locker red, but they came out a little easier than I would have suspected if they were actually thread locker red. But I'm thinking with this location here, that would suck if they fell down while you were boating. So when I reinstall, I'll probably use some thread locker blue I normally have just for some other applications. So I'll definitely put some sort of thread locker on here to keep this from disappearing. Because that would suck to get stranded. So, and lose your lower foot. I don't know. I don't really buy boat parts like that. I don't know if that's something you could easily source, or they're just going to be kind of ass out. Okay. I'm going to reference this drawing and see kind of what I'm looking at here. Okay. I don't know. best way to get this out is, looks like this control lever, which is kind of your shifting linkage. I'm not going to move the camera and show you, but this shifting linkage moves up and down, and I think that's what pushes this gear to engage and disengage. So I need to be sure not to damage that. I think what I'll do is stick the bolt in here just to hold this up temporarily so I'm not damaging that. And I'm going to see if I can disconnect that shaft from over here. It's a weird connection. It looks like a little rod, but there's a little bracket here. I don't know what function it serves, maybe just to keep it from vibrating loose. And it has a little Phillips on it. So I'll get that removed. Stick that there. Move up and down. There's a little, kind of like a turnbuckle nut on here. I don't know if I can turn it smaller. That's an 8mm. See if I can crack this little thing loose. So it seems like this bar might be kind of segmented and threaded along, and it has this little turnbuckle thing to connect them together. Yeah, that's what it was. Once I get this removed, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, now something else is constrained. I'm gonna have to stick my head up there. See what I'm looking for. I see. It's actually that turnbuckle piece I was explaining to you. Because to get this rod disconnected, it had to come down, but then it stuck in this grommet over here. So pushing up on it, unscrewing it, and I'll show you what I'm looking at here. Okay. So I'm going to describe to you what happened on this to remove this piece. So hopefully you can see here, this is kind of the control arm, and here's where it ties into this bracket here. But this comes up and it's threaded here, and it matches up with a threaded rod. It just continues up to the throttle section where you adjust it. And this sat here, but to get it off you had to go down all the way so you could separate it, but then you had to come and take it off. Okay. So this is the first time I'm looking at this. Like I said, I've never dealt with this before, so I'm going to inspect this shaft, see if there's any noticeable damage or wear on this spline. Spline looks good. When I reinstall that, I might put a drop of grease on there. So I'm going to say our issues are going to be further down. But this is full of oil. So I'm thinking my best bet might be just to take this propeller off and then start working down into there. So this has a castle nut like you'd see on an axle, a CV axle or drive axle of your car. And it's got a cotter key in it. So I'm going to use these pliers, see if we can get this thing removed. But I wanted to get out, do some duck hunting, but I kind of missed that opportunity because of my boat being a little fucky. But it wasn't a major priority because my wife's pregnant and I got a lot of other stuff I could be doing and learning how to duck hunt because I've actually never been. I'd really like to learn. It seems really daunting. It seems like there's a big learning curve, unlike something like dove. Quail is a bit of a learning curve because you have to have the dogs, but that's why I got the dogs. Kind of forced myself into learning upland bird hunting, which is kind of funny because in South Carolina there's not many native upland birds. I've been to public land a lot, and I've only ever seen 2, and I've walked dozens of miles, and my dogs have covered hundreds of miles collectively. So, in the pursuit of wild bird. Okay. Let's see. I guess I'm going to try to get this off with a ratchet because my impact's in my car. Because when I took a trip to North Carolina to volunteer, I decided it'd be best to take some of those tools with me in case I broke down or something. Makes changing your tire a lot easier on the side of the road when you have a impact. And North Carolina is such a disaster. I wouldn't be surprised if you picked up a nail or something pretty readily. Alright, for this castle nut I have a 17 millimeter. Okay. That was actually very loose. I thought that was going to be much more difficult to break loose. But with the cotter key on there, I'm not really concerned about that moving around too much. Okay. That's what that looks like. And this castle nut was just regular right-hand thread. I was unsure how it would go, just because this is all foreign territory to me, except for when you work on stuff, you kind of get a feel for it. It really does just take practice. When I 2 years ago, I probably wouldn't have enjoyed ripping this down too much because I would have assumed it was garbage at that point in time. Okay. So I don't know how this stuff's gonna dump out. I don't think there's a lot of oil in here. I think I looked up the spec and it was less than a quart of oil, or that was engine oil. So I actually don't know how much oil is going to be contained within this lower unit. And who knows? It might not have any in it. That might be why I have these issues. That would not surprise me. The guy I bought it from said he had changed the oil in the lower unit within the last few months for that season. So I didn't have any reason not to believe him. So I'm not sure if this whole shaft assembly will pull out because what I imagine is in the bottom here you have kind of gears that mesh up like a planetary gear set almost. Oh, shit. Okay. Yeah, there's oil in there. Alrighty. Yep, smells like gear oil. If you've ever changed your differential, you'll know that stuff smells pretty rank. I'm just gonna dump the rest of that out. I should have just drained the oil when I started, but I honestly wasn't sure. That'd be my recommendation. If you're doing this, there's a little drain plug. I'd drain your oil out beforehand. Not much came out, but I was hoping I was going to be able to just kind of slowly get that off. But it's like an O-ring, so it was kind of a lot of pressure to get that. Took a good bit of force to get that piece disconnected. And like you saw when it came, it came out with some gusto. I'm spraying this down a little bit with brake clean, just so we can get a look at kind of these mechanisms in here and make sure it all looks like it's functioning as it should. Okay. So what I'm looking at is this is your propeller shaft. And what we have is this gear. And this moves in and meshes with this to start spinning that. But this can spin as well. Okay. Yeah, I shouldn't have gotten brake clean on this washer or O-ring. That's normally not favorable. So when I install that back, I'll make sure to drip a little bit of oil it up like you would if you did a car oil filter. They tell you to add a little bit of oil around it. I'll do that to make sure I lube it back up. really nicely. Okay. Well, this mechanism here, I don't see any glaring flaws. It's still dripping a bit of oil. So I'm going to take a look at this unit, finish draining it out. Yeah. Silly me for that. And I bought this unit used, and you know, the guy told me he had changed the oil in the lower unit, which I believe he did, because it really doesn't look all that bad. So I don't really have any concerns with that. I don't, you know, he didn't slight me or anything, because the unit was running great when I got it, and it ran well for the whole season. I really think I just kind of abused it a little bit. Sometimes it's hard to accept. Alrighty. Okay. So, I don't know if you can see in here. And there is a bit of play to engage that gear. Like, trying to see, there's another shaft that comes down that has remained in here. And that fits down this other hole. I'm not really sure how it plays into these. Okay, there we go. Getting a little more oil out. Okay. Not exactly sure what we're looking at yet. I think I'm going to try to get this little cap off the top here and try to figure out what this other shaft, what duty it performs. I'm trying to look at this drawing, but this drawing is a little big because it doesn't include this shaft piece that I just removed a little while ago. So I'm not exactly sure what role all the pieces are playing. But we'll get to the bottom of this for sure. We're kind of committed now. This is one of those things where if you took it to your boat mechanic, they'd know. But I kind of like having the self-reliance to be able to take something apart, and you know, even if we don't get to the bottom of it, we always have that option to take it to the boat mechanic later. But if it's something we can rectify and get me back on the water faster and a lot cheaper, right? And depending on the season, like if you just put this thing away, like everyone else does for the winter, and you show up day one to the boating scene and you're having issues, you're going to be probably pretty far out on getting any repairs done. So it could be a timely thing also to be able to repair this. Okay, so this has like a plastic cap, like I was saying. This I think is kind of our control shifter. I'm not exactly sure. I'm guessing when the engine's spinning, this shaft down here is going to be continuously spinning. That washer's stuck. Okay. Okay, getting this final bolt out, and we'll take a look, see. Interesting. Well, look at that. That's not good. Okay, that piece was part of the water cooling. So what you have is water intakes, and then you have this water pump that's driven by the drive shaft there. But one of the fins is broken, and it's stuck right here. It's stuck in this little pump housing. This, you know, that wouldn't have done us in on functioning. Or that wouldn't have been causing our issues. One thing I am pretty good about checking is making sure my unit has water coming out of it when I'm operating it. That's a quick check to make sure you are having water flow. So I'm gonna have to order a new little pump. One thing, this does look like it has a little key or something to it. And this shaft has a little slot in it. Oh, there we go. Look at that. There is a little key that broke off, that came off. Well, it's a good thing I opened this up, because wouldn't want that causing further issues. Okay, so that shaft has a little flat part, and on this little pump we have a little keyway, and then that little metal key sat in there, and then that would sit on that flat part so this could turn. But because that came off, I don't know what happened first. I'm going to guess this probably broke, and then it kind of deformed so it could allow that key to slip out. Well, that's good we caught that. That's going to need rectified for sure. Oh, shit. Okay. There we go. So here's a good bit of the unit I'm looking at. I'm going to clean this up with some brake clean so I have the ability to inspect the pieces for damage a little better. Okay. One thing I want to mention with these shop rags, when you're using all these solvents, they can be susceptible to combustion. So I always make sure to dispose of them properly. Okay. Oh shit. Accidentally pinched down a thrust washer. They're kind of like sprung washers that help keep these bearings loaded. But I think that didn't cause any damage there. Okay. When I reassemble this, I'm going to pack this bearing probably with grease just to keep it healthy. But I'm not seeing any major issues in any of these splines or anything. That's kind of what I'm inspecting. I'm going to set that up there. Hopefully in the orientation it came out. Where did I? Okay, here's this drive gear we were looking at. This is what interfaces with the propeller worm gear. Okay. There's another gear in there. Okay. Interesting. Okay. There's another gear in here. And I think that gets pushed in and out by this ramped piece here. So when you go into neutral or drive or changing your gear there. And then this worm gear meshes into this spline. And then that matches with this gear that's inside of here. Okay. Well, between here and somewhere, something's getting jangled. Let me see if I can use this magnet to pull this gear out. Doubtful. Does that think it probably has a bearing or something that helps hold it in. Okay. Well, that's interesting. I think what I'm going to do is see if I can get this piece out and see if I can manipulate this and see how it's supposed to respond when it goes in and out. Okay. Interesting. That's a mess in there. Okay. I'm sorry guys, this is not a quick process to troubleshoot this. I may cut a lot of this out, finagle, figuring. Okay. There's nothing super obvious to me, damage wise in here. There's a gear in here that appears to move okay. Very smooth. This shaft comes down. Okay. Yeah, I figured out what's going on. Okay. This is starting to add up. So when I go forward, the rod comes up, reverse it goes down. What I have, I forgot I have this pin. There's this pin that interfaces with this rod over here. Okay. So when it's forward, when I said when it's going in reverse, it goes down. So it gets pushed here and it meshes up with the gear this way. Neutral, it's not going to be meshed anywhere, or it's going to be there's a few spots where it interfaces. Okay, well this is their control lever, and it's going to push this further in or further out. And that's going to cause this to interface with this gear or not. And I'm just trying to figure out how. So when it pushes in, down was reverse, up was forward. So when it goes all the way back, I'm trying to figure out how that, what that does. Because it has a gear in here. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's making a lot of sense. Yeah. Okay, this makes a lot of sense here. So what we have, this shaft comes down and it has this gear that is meshed in between a matching one on the other side. So when this is all the way out this way, the shaft is getting driven by this back gear. But when it's in the middle, neither of these gears, this gear is free floating here. Okay. This is kind of hard to explain, but I'll try my best. I'm sure there's a diagram that shows it better. Now this is a pretty nifty design here. So what I have, these gears, they have this tri-piece design that this collet matches up to. And this is the drive shaft to the propeller. And nothing's touching it. This comes down from the engine. And it's driving both of these gears. But it's going to spin one in one direction and one in the other. Does that make sense there? So that's spinning this gear in this orientation, but the other gear is going to be moving in the opposite way. And then the adjuster rod is either going to be in the neutral position, it's in the middle, where it can't engage either side. But when I go in reverse, oops, shit. Sorry. That came out. Oops. Oh God. Hope there wasn't a... Okay. I didn't lose the spring. That was just a bearing plate for this pin. But, okay. I'm trying to demonstrate this. Well, so when on this rod, when I said I was going in reverse, it went down. So look at this tapered rod. When it goes down, it pushes this in enough to interface with this gear, and it's going to drive it in reverse. When I go into neutral, it's going to be in this tensioned middle position where it can't grab onto either gear. And then when I go into forward, it comes all the way up, and then it's going to match with the gear that's mounted in this housing. So something is making that transition pretty hard, which we're not sure what's causing that. That could just be wear and tear, but these teeth look fine. There wasn't a lot of, I mean, you're always going to have some shavings in your gear oil, but nothing excessive that would warrant major concern to me. And like, I've done multiple differentials on different vehicles and they all come out pretty nasty with debris and whatnot. I'm looking at these teeth that get engaged by this for any major damage, but they all look good. I'm going to clean these up a little better with a different cleaning agent. Okay. Alright, I'm going to clean these up a little better with this carb cleaner just because it's not as harsh of a solvent on some of these rubber components and sealing components. You gotta think this is normally encased in oil. Okay. But I'm not seeing anything concerning, so that's a good sign. Okay. But now we have a better picture of how this operates. So that'll make troubleshooting a little easier. One thing I am noticing is this does have a good bit of throw in it. This shaft here, and when I have it thrown all the way out, this engages a little rough here. But if I have this pulled out, the engagement, the fitment's a lot better. So I'm not sure how that fitment with this propeller was. If that kept it pushed in or pushed down a little. Yeah. So with the propeller installed, I guess if it was pushing forward, it would push in, and then it would push out. Dude. So when I said that you push it down, or to go forward, it lifts it up, which would make it go further back that way. Okay. Yeah, I'm not really sure how these propellers are supposed to seat. It's supposed to ride onto it. I guess that thing is spring loaded, so it should push onto it a good bit with that spring. It should prevent some of the excessive throw in that shaft. think we're going to get to the bottom of this. I don't think we're going to have it fixed tonight because I still need to order a new pump. Okay. So I was a little worried about that throw, but when it's mounted in here, that's not really a concern. Interesting. Trying to think about my reassembly sequence. That gear does need to be meshed. Okay, I think I can go ahead and reassemble that. What I'm going to do, like I said, use a little bit of oil on here. I don't want to use any with that solvent on there. So, I'll just use a little bit of grease. I got some right here. Alright, not a lot, just the tiniest bit to keep this O-ring from drying out and to help it slide into this assembly without getting damaged. I don't think this direction on here matters. It looks very bi-directional. Okay. Oh, there's this pin as well. Oops. Uh-oh. I'm like forgetting pieces here big time. You don't want to mess this up. So this pin fits into here, but it also has this plate that was the buffer between the spring and the pin. So you need to make sure you have that installed first. God. Whew. Good thing I didn't forget that. It's like one of those pieces you certainly don't want to forget. Okay. And I think assembly wise, to get this to assemble correctly, I will need to install that piece first. And let's look at this one more time. So that pump can be assembled on top of here at a later date. So I'm just going to drop that in. Now actually, I'm not going to be able to fit this curved piece through this plastic bushing. So I'm going to clean this off and stick it through there beforehand. I don't see any serious wear to here. Where that pin rides on here, you could see a little line. Well, this is a pretty nifty design. I mean, I guess outboards have been around forever, so it's pretty standardized stuff. I'm sure all of our avid boating viewers that deal with this probably are aware of how this works, but this is new to me, and I find it pretty interesting design, because I'm an engineer by trade and sometimes I like to just take stuff apart and fix it, obviously, but sometimes it's nice to get that perspective of how it works. So if you have a better understanding of how it works, you can maybe know why it's not working right. Like when I first started having these shifting issues, I had never observed how these work, so it was kind of a learning curve. I knew there was the rod that went down and interfaced with it, but was not totally aware of the logistics of it. Why not? Seems like something doesn't seem right with my assembly here. I think it has to do with this rod here. Okay, there we go. I was putting it in the wrong way. The rod has to go in a certain way, and I thought I had it the right way, but I actually had it backwards because the rod's bent. But it's pretty smart they do that because it forces you to stick it in the right way. Okay. So this should just go down. Then we see where that gear comes in. I don't want to start bolting this down yet because this is going to be an interference. I think this is going to have to push into this. Yeah. Because these are angled gears, worm gears, I'm going to have to tie this into the gear in the back there, pointing straight up first, and then drive this splined drive shaft into here. So it's got to be like a one-piece motion, I think, because you're not going to be able to just stick this gear in there afterwards. And this one really is easier said than done here, because it's a bit in there. I think I've got it meshed up right, but my spline, okay, there we go. I got that spline in there, and I've got that gear meshed in to the thing. This is a really cool design. I feel like when we first started, I did have a bit of backlash in this assembly here. So that's promising to me that I'm not having that right now. And then I'm going to check this. That still moves up and down. I think I have it in the correct orientation. Yeah. I can see the flat surfaces on it. So I got that in the orientation I need. Okay. What I'm going to do for now is I'm just going to put these bolts here to hold this down just a touch. Keep it mostly from rotating, provide a little bit of torque. I don't want to assemble the whole thing yet because I'm going to have to buy a replacement water pump and install that. Okay, so we have that in. Then what goes next is going to be this assembly. And then this one's going to match up with that gear. That was kind of a pain to install. I'm hoping it just matches up with it. I think from the angle that comes in, it should work. These will probably need some Loctite as well. I think what I'll do is at the end of this project I'll come back through and just Loctite all this stuff just to be safe. Might not be necessary, but beat swimming home. Right? Right. That would suck. Which I'm not sure how it worked. Like my dad, he had a boat, but we were mostly like, we did that mostly like in the ocean and stuff, or the Chesapeake Bay in Maryland, and he had like boat insurance that would come, you know, I guess if you broke down, they would come bail you out. And I have boat insurance for this, but on these little lakes, you know, I don't think anyone's gonna come get you. I think maybe I could call our local DNR because they patrol the water. But I guess that'd be my emergency call to the South Carolina DNR, and hopefully not get them too upset with me. But who knows? Okay, so let's see. So this spins. So that's in one position. If I take this off, shit. Okay, wait. So there's neutral. I go up a little more. So I'm turning this clockwise, and it's spinning clockwise on my when I'm all the way out, which I'm thinking's forward. When I go down, I get nothing. That's my neutral position. And when I push it all the way down, then I doesn't want to stay. But when I push it all, there we go. There's my, when I push it all the way down and I spin this clockwise, now I'm turning counterclockwise. So that gearbox mechanism is working like we thought. And there is a lot of backlash because of how that gear meshes in there, like we anticipated. That's my neutral position. No, that's my forward. I kicked it a little too far. It's hard to do by hand, but you know, the mechanism inside is certainly a lot more precise. Okay. I think that did it, guys. I don't know. I don't know for sure. Maybe just moving around some of the components fixed it. But I feel pretty good about that. What I'm going to do is leave this as is for now. And I'm going to go ahead and order that water pump, and I'll make a video showing how to do that. And then doing all the other general maintenance to this device, such as the fuel filter, changing the motor oil, obviously how to do the oil change in this lower unit, and then I'll do a video on how to add a fuel disconnect, quick fuel disconnect, because I don't have one at the moment. But alright everybody, thank you for watching. I think this was a pretty big success. I'm hopeful that this is going to work better. It certainly feels a lot smoother than when we started. So I wonder if just one of the pins or something became ajar. Because there's a lot of little moving components. And thank you for watching. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. If there's a different format you would like to see for this type of material, please let me know if you'd prefer it, sped along in some parts. Just let me know. All right, everyone. Thanks.